Alright, this is going to be a wrap up. This will be the end of my video tutorial lessons. I usually save this to the end is because most of these are self-explanatory anyway, and I'm going to be going over most of them, and most of these ones I left out are kind of scattered around the interface, so you'll have to follow along. And I'm not going to get in full detail, but I'll try to do my best to kind of get you an idea. So just follow along here. We're going to start by the Edit tab and Preference Editor, and we'll go down here. It's called the Display Command Viewer. If I put a check mark in the box, keep an eye over where the sphere is at. So we'll put a check mark in there, and as you can see, it popped up over here. Uncheck it, disappears. Check it, it reappears. Now this is doing it without me validating it. And when you're done with preference and you change some settings here, make sure you validate it and not press the exit key. So if I was done, press validate. That makes me be reassured all these preferences will be saved next time the program shuts down and restarts. So just make sure you don't press this, because next time there might be a good chance if you just press the exit key and you see your preference change, it might not keep it. So make sure you validate it. And by default, it sets the maximum dues of 10. I like to set mine high is because I don't think 10 is a sufficient amount of undos. That undo means how many times you can go back if you had a mistake. If I decide to change just this value here without changing any other values down the list or within any other tab, I'll just press the R icon and you can see it set it back to 10. So I'll set it back up, and it just resets this value here, as you can see there. Now if let's say I got a big mess and I changed all my settings through here and here, and I just wanted to go everything back to default. Well, I would choose this option here. It's called Reset All Preference to Default. I'm not going to select it now, but once you make this choice, you're stuck with it. You can't say, well, how can I undo reset all? You can't. Once you make the selection, you're stuck with all your preference back to default. Alright, let's go ahead and go into the display here, and as you can see, we got this pink thing around this sphere here. They call that the bounding box. I don't like it, so I'll just uncheck it and we'll validate it. Alright, now I'm gonna show you this command viewer here, and it's good for visual effects, or if you're doing video tutorials and for some reason I did something and you're like, how do you do that? And for some reason I forgot to tell you I pressed a hotkey and you're wondering how I did it. Well, this will pretty much show you what I'm selecting. So if I select a cube here, it's going to tell you that I'm selecting a cube. And like if I'm going to press a hotkey, and for some reason I didn't tell you I was going to press delete, but for some reason I just pressed it without telling you, it's going to tell you I pressed the delete key. Alright, going to pause the video and go in the next section. Alright, we're going to go over to the Edit Shortcut Editor. This is the area you can set up shortcut hotkeys. These are used to activate a item. So let's go over to the tools here and go to 3D primitives, and since I'm on the 3D primitives here, anything in the 3D primitives tab up here at the top are same here as in the shortcut editor. As you can see, these are blank and don't have any shortcuts set to them. So I'm going to select the tetrahedron, click once, and if I move my cursor away, it's still light blue, but that means it's still active. I'm going to hold the control key down on the keyboard, then press the letter T. As you can see, it took the control plus T here as a shortcut without any errors. Well, I'll show you a little thing here in a second about an error you might get. So let's go ahead and validate that. And when you move your mouse over each one of these items, it'll give you a the description and the name of the hotkey at the end. And the screen recording, it's not going to let me, it's not going to show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print screen. I'm going to take it to another program and show you. So let me pause the video, and we're going to go ahead and paste that print screen. I had my mouse over the tetrahedron, as you can see here. It says Control T. So this lets you know a little hotkey at the end there. So let's get back to the program. Alright, we're going to open up the shortcut editor again. And about the error that I was going to tell you about is if you tried assigning two of the same hotkey. So for a little demonstration, I'll select for the text here. I'm going to press Control T. It says this shortcut is already in use by the tetrahedron. Refined it. If I refine it and press yes, it's going to override it. It's probably not best to overwrite another hotkey somewhere else because it could cause a little problem. So I'll press no, and it didn't overwrite it. But let's say we did want to overwrite it. Activate it, Control T, and remember the tetrahedron is Control T, and I'm going to overwrite it this time. And you can see it remove the tetrahedron hotkey or shortcut key, and now the 3D text is assigned to it. Alright, we're going to remember this is the hotkey for this. We're going to get back to that in a second, but we'll go to the File tab, and these, like I said, these are all preset. And let's see, I assigned one for this one, Control J, and that one took. We'll validate that, open it back up. Now, when I reset shortcuts, it's going to reset all of them, but it's going to keep the ones that are default. So remember, I set one for here. It should just remove it and leave the rest of them. And also in the Tools tab, it removed the hotkey I got for this one. So the reset removes any ones that you added, but it keeps all the ones that were preset by default. Alright, let's open that back up one more time. We're going to set the text back to Control T as the hotkey. And remember, all these were blank at default, so remember that. So we'll validate that. Keep an eye on the command viewer here. When I press Control key, as you can see, it brought up the text 3D as soon as I click the space on the viewer here. We'll abort that, and we'll open this back up. Shortcut editor. And, I'm gonna make a couple hotkeys for this one here, and let's go up here and make one for this one. It's already in use. Don't want to use that one. I'm gonna use Control Shift T on that one. Now I can reset just this item here. As you can see, it removed it. I'll bring it back, or reset them all back at default, which were all blank. Alright, I'm going over to the 3D Trihedron. It's down here in the left hand corner. It's got X, Y, and Z. It's got different colors, and it's got this transparency plane. Now this transparency plane basically represents one of these floor grids over here. We'll select here, and when I move around, they'll both update at the same time. As you can see, it flipped down here. Let's do that again. It's trying to tell me for best viewing right now, for the best view would be this plane here, which actually would be the floor plane. Alright, we're going to go ahead and load up a cube here. And I've got this on the universal manipulators, and the universal manipulator handles are color coordinated with the trihedron. We got the X is for the red, Y is for the lime green, and a Z. If you got three boxes over here, they run in order. First box is X, second box is Y, third box is Z. Easy to understand, X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to highlight this box over here so you can see it. So if somebody says move this at X position or axis, and you're like, which one is X? And you look over here, all you got to do is look at the trihedron, the red here, is showing x-axis, so we'll move the red handle. Very simple. The Y one here, the Y is lime green, so move the lime green handle. And the third one is the Z, which is blue, and we'll move the blue handle. Go ahead and delete that one there. And this time we can lock this and lock another working plane. Select the transparency one, click it. It turns yellow. It's indicating it's locked. And I'm going to draw a line here. And when you're locked in a plane, it's like drawing flat on a piece of paper. You're locked into 2D now. So it'll be flat. So I'm going to select here, here. Then I'm going to go straight up. I'm going to tip over here. Let me select over here. I'm going to appear that I'm going to go to the side. I'm going to appear that I'm going down and straight out. You're probably saying, I thought you said it was 2D. Well, if you look at it and I turn real slow, it is actually an illusion what you was seeing. Let's go to top view mode, as you can see there. And to unlock it, we'll just select this icon again, the yellow one, and it's back to normal. That way, if you want to offset it next time, you can just then they'll be offset. Very simple. Alright, we're going to be going over these views in the bottom left hand corner here. We're on single view right now. Well, let's just split this into 4 views. So we'll select here. And when the manipulator is highlighted, or you can see it, you don't see it down in this one until I put my cursor over here. It's actually not active until I actually select the manipulator. As you can see, I get a white border around the view window. Or I can just select in the view window and there's white border. And a lot of times you'll have different views, and you can select them and change them by selecting the text on each one of them to switch whatever you want. As you can see, it's not showing in 2 of these views, so what I like doing is make sure this one's active, view all, select the next one, view all, and that's the way they're all in viewing here. So I'm going to go ahead and select a face here. I'm going to pull on it, and when I pull on it, you notice the rest of them don't move until I let go of the mouse, and I'm going to let go of it right now. Then they all update. If I move it back, let go, then they all update. You can go to the preference editor and uncheck under the 3D display advance, uncheck the local draw. This will decrease the performance a little bit on your computer, so it's up to you if you want to have a little decrease of performance, but once you pull on it, they all update at one time. The reason why you don't see it down here is because the way this thing is turned. So let's go to there we go, rear view there, and you can see they're all updated at once. Alright, now if I go back to a single view, which is going to be this left one down here, it's going to remember the last view I was in. So if I select in the front view, which is the white border here, and I go down here to single view, it's automatically going to be stuck in front view. You can see the text up here. So let's split that again. Select the perspective view and go back to single view. Now we're stuck in perspective view. So it remembers the last view that was selected. Alright, I'm going to go over to the custom tab here, and this is where you put in some special tools that you might use a lot or you like very much, and you can add these here. So I added the bridge and the cube here, and I'm going to show you how to add and remove. So I'm going to click this icon on the very far left, and this is going to bring this little custom menu out here. If you hold your left mouse button down and keep it held down, you got 2 options to close or rotate it. and we can access to turn it on back here, or we can go to the Edit tab and Custom Palette. If we wish to add to this, we'll go to the 3D primitives and we'll right click over an icon when we're hovering over it, add this tool to the custom tool palette, press yes, and there it is. All we need to do is select it, and there it is. If we wish to remove any of these, all you do is put your mouse over it, right click, remove this tool from the custom tool palette, yes. So this is very handy if you got any special tools that you like a lot, and or some tools that you use quite often. Alright, I'm going to be going over these list of icons down here that are in a group. These work with certain tools and some tools they don't. And we're going to use this one that allows the mouse to snap to the feedback grid. And before I turn that on, I'm going to go into orthographic view here. It's looking straight at me. And it's not activated until the icon is clicked and it's highlighted blue. So we're going to go ahead and select a line and polyline, and I'm going to click. And if you notice here, here's the feedback grid, and we can adjust that by the numpad with the plus and minus key, how much we want to add or how much we want to decrease. So I'm going to add some, then I'm going to decrease some. And if you notice the grid in the background there, or the floor grids, or the floor plane grids, I like to space mine out to equally to the size of them, so that looks good enough for me. And we can select anywhere we want, and that's when the feedback grid will start there, and we can go ahead and freehand select some, and we have a perfect square. We'll delete that, and when I start my next one, it's going to remember the spot where it started off at, and it's going to connect right there every time. It's not actually going to connect there, but it's going to start there. If we want to set this back to default, all we need to do is go to the camera, click the camera icon here, upper left hand corner, go back to XYZ, then select the polyline, and by default it's going to jump back down here in the middle, and we can start from there. Alright, we'll go ahead and abort that there, and I'm going to select a cube here. I'm going to use this white crosshair as a visual reference for right now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select here and drag out, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Double click. As you can see, now they are perfectly straight across from one another. They are not offset like this. Control Z that a few times, and I'll show you one more time. We'll reset this here. You don't have to do that every time, but we'll select here. So you can drag up or drag below, it doesn't matter. I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. Double click. Remember I selected down here, so I'll select down here again. Bring my mouse up. Double click. We got the same size, and they are across from each other. Alright, we'll go ahead and delete that one there, and we're going to go over to the next option here. We'll go ahead and turn that one off, and we're going to go ahead and by default, I believe this was set to points and faces. Make sure we're in face mode here. Let's say that we was going to insert a point. So let's say we need to switch this back over to snap to every half edge. So if I was to insert a point, it's going to snap to every half edge between 2 points. So what that means is from this point to this point over here, it's going to try to snap in between it. So let's go into insert point, and then this works with the shift key now. When I hold the shift key down, let me go ahead and make sure I got this selected here. When I hold the shift key down, As you can see, it's going to try to snap it to it. I'll move my mouse away, snap. It's going to snap right in the middle, or snap to the points at the end. Just a little demonstration there. We'll abort that. And we'll go ahead and uncheck the half here, and we'll go to just the edges. Let's say I wanted to just use a polyline and align it to the edge. Just hold the shift key up to the edge and it should snap to it, and I should be able to guide up and down it fairly easy. Can be a little tricky, but it snaps to the edge. We'll abort that. You can have combinations of a couple of these. I don't think you can use all of them. Maybe you can. Let's see. We'll use this one and 1/4. So as you can see, when I move down this edge, it keeps on snapping. There's a halfway mark. Personally, I like to have it set for every edge, every half, and point. So snap to a point here, snap to a half here. But I believe since we got it on edge here, it's just not snapping to the edge, it's trying to go to the halfway mark. So let's switch this back up. So you got to work, some of these you can work in the combinations and some of these you can't. Hit the escape key here and we'll delete that. Select the object and delete it. Then we got these constraints here, and you can see this one here is crossed here. They show you which way. This is pretty much all free constraint. Then it shows a red line going left to right. You got horizontal and vertical constraints. So if I was to select here, as you see the red line and the green line, I can move in all directions. If I select here, I'm only constrained to this axis here. If I try moving up and down, it will not go. Same way with this one. Now this one goes up and down, but I can't go left to right. So we need to go back here. These can be adjusted by just tapping the space bar to cycle through these. So if I was to select here, hit the space bar, one constraint, and I want to say I wanted to go straight up, tap the space bar again, and I can limit myself to constraints by tapping the space bar. Alright, we're going to go down the next list of icons. These are for viewing, and we're going to press this first one as view all. Before we do it, let's say we had an object over here and an object. They are kind of, let's just make one kind of out of sight a little bit, and we wanted to view all the objects. All you need to do is press view all, and it views all of them. And next to this one we have view selection. Any one that's selected, it's going to focus in on that. So when I select here, it's going to focus on the sphere here. If you use the zoom instead of the scroll wheel, it'll come in and out towards you. So let me select over here. I'll kind of scoot it over here a little bit so you can see it. And we're going to do the view selection, and this is going to bring this oblong cube into focus. And when I use the scroll, it comes directly in at me. If you use the wheel on the mouse, sometimes this what will happen. So make sure you press view selection, then use the icon to zoom. Alright, we're going to go to the next one. This is view detail. When I select this, you move your cursor over any of the area and hold your mouse button down till you drag a square and let go. This is going to go ahead and view the detail in the area that's selected. So let's say I wanted to really zoom in. I'll select here, and it zoomed into this area here. Again, we can use the zoom option. Say I want to get real close to this top here, and I wanted to get into the very fine details, but Best way to do it is grab here and just draw real small, and it's going to get real close in on the area that is selected. Alright, let's go back to view all here, and don't forget to use this option. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep an eye on this elongated cube here, and when I turn it, let's take a look at this back half right here, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and put this off screen a little bit, and when I turn it around, you can see it's always off screen at certain points when I turn it. So if I want to focus on this area, we can use this custom view here. So when I select here, this little custom view here, it's like a little icon is going to pop up like an eye, and I'm going to select somewhere on this elongated cube, and I'm going to click it. Now remember, when I rotated it to the right here, it went off screen, but this time it's going to focus on that face that I selected, so anytime that I move it, that face will not go off screen. It selects the area that you want to focus on. And to make that more clear, let's go ahead and delete this here. Just do it one more time. And we'll bring this out here, and we're going to use this little tip here as a pointer to show the demonstration. We're going to go ahead and offset this here. We're going to bring this out here. We're going to go ahead and move this around. As you can see, it goes off screen. Over here it goes off screen. So we're going to go ahead and select the custom view. We're going to select the point of this cone. It's going to be our focus, and now when we rotate it, that point will always be in view no matter which way that we rotate it, up or down or all around. It'll still always be in our view. Alright, we're going to go over a little bit of these navigation icons down here, and I got a list of them where they rotate, pan, and zoom, and I'll show you this first one here in a second. When I select this icon here, you can hold your left mouse button down on the icon itself and drag your mouse in and out, or up and down. I can use a scroll wheel on the mouse, which basically almost does the same, but kind of offsets it. Or I can double click this icon, or actually just click it once, and it brings up the icon here. And all I'm doing is dragging on the viewer here. To remove this, we'll select the first one to show the manipulator. We'll do the same with the rotate. We'll click it once and hold it down. Then I'm going to let off. As you notice, my cursor's back to original, but that's because I held the mouse button down. If I click it once, it brings me up the icon, and I'll select it to bring back the manipulator. Same way with this one here, the pan. Hold the mouse button down on it and click it and keep it held down. Pan it up and down, right and left. Or I just click it one time and it brings up the icon. Go to the first one to show the manipulator. And we're going to move on down, and we got the wireframe here. We got the lit wireframe, flat solid and edges, smooth, and a smooth solid and edges. And we got the light maps, as we can change the lighting. These lighting maps can be changed. I'm not going to do a tutorial on that, but you can make your own custom lighting maps. And all you need to do is, all these are is nothing but images, and you just replace them in the same directory folder that these images are located at. And if I was on smooth, let's go back to smooth here. Let me just change my lighting map. As you can see, it still looks like it's in wireframe mode, but if you double click here in the empty spot, as you see, it's not in a wireframe. That's why you want to select this one here. And this one is a flat solid with no wireframe. Just look at the icons and see how they look, and that'll help you out. This is the shadow ambient occlusion. It's best not to work with these on. I'm using Hexagon 2.1. I think they fix this in the other versions, so usually you have to use the preview button. And once you select on the viewer here, it changes, so just make sure this is off. Particularly don't, this is for basically snapshotting images after that you have them. Let's say you want to view the ambient and you wanted to save it later. Let's turn it up here. Then we just use the snapshot, and could save it to a folder. This is how we save it, and this is how it looked when we saved it. Alright, we're going to move down here to hide select faces or show hidden faces, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude this down in here. And for some reason we need to look underneath inside this, and let's say the center area, and at a different angle for some reason, maybe to tweak it or see if we got double geometry or something in there. We can select many as we want. And what we'll do is hide select faces. This will let me look inside here. I got two options to bring back this face so I can see it. This is just temporary, did not delete it. I can select here, this icon, or I can select up here in the scene tree properties. So you can select multiple ones that you want, and we can hide it and show all, hide it, or we can show hidden faces. Alright, I paused the video and got me a new sphere out here, and as I'm in face mode, I'm going to right click and drag over here, and you can see I'm selected the faces, but when I turn it around you can see it did not select the faces on the back side. So I'm pressing the hotkey to go in that correct view, and this time I'm going to select the transparency down here. And to see the transparency, you must be in face mode. If you're not in face mode, it will not show the transparency. Or you can select any of these other modes. So with this selected, we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to right click and drag. Mouse is sticking there a little bit. And as you can see, it's selected all the way around there. So a little demonstration one more time real quick. Drag over here. Without transparency, you only get what you see facing towards you. With transparency, you get all the way around. And we can deactivate it once we already made our selection. Alright, the next option is show hidden back faces. And let me show you a little demonstration of this. One that's got some back faces, the normals going one way, is let's go ahead and bring out this grid here. And we're going to go ahead and move this around. As you can see, we can see both sides. Now, because this show hidden back faces is on. Now, if it's off, it's only showing one side of the face, not both sides. If I turn it around. Alright, then we got this orthographic view here. Select the 3D project mode, orthographic or perspective. select once. I want to double click at that time, and I got it facing towards me. Select it again, more in perspective, and then we got it back. This is kind of like working in 2D here. That can be kind of handy, especially when using the line tool. Alright, we went over ambient occlusion, I believe I pronounced that right, and the snapshot icon down here with the camera. This lets you keep an image of what's in the viewer here if you want to save it out of the JPEG or PNG or the file format that it's got a list of. So with that said, we'll go into the next step, and I'm going to go over this shading domain. I don't recall going over this with you, but this is going to be real small. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select a few faces here, then I'm going to select new, and then let's set up a new shading domain so I can hide or show this. As you can see the back side over there is because I need to set my show hidden faces back on. Alright, now that I have this selected here, we'll select here, and let's go over to the materials. Let's just activate this so we can see it, and you can change the materials for the colors or whatever. Alright, let's say I wanted to add it to this one here, so what I would do is make sure that's activated, and I'll select more out here, then press the plus sign to add, and now when I select over here, now they're all together. These shading domains in some applications, when you export this out, these are kind of like keeping a separate object like in its own group, but it is still one object, and you can apply certain materials to certain parts of this. So according to this one right here, as you can see, I'll be able to apply some materials just to the red, or to vice versa to the other color up here. Go back over here and select this shading domain, and we'll hide it. And like I said, we got this other icon over here in the scene properties, which was kind of like this one earlier that we was talking about, and you can also uncheck this to show it back. Alright, we're going to select a face here, and we're going to go to the selection menu, and we're going to go down and convert selection to edges. Anything that's connected to that face, every edge, it's going to be activated and highlighted. As you can see, now it's selected all the edges of the boundary of the face. Alright, now if I was to select a single edge, then I went to selection and convert selection to faces. As you can see, when I selected the edge here, it's straight up and down. It's going to select a face on each side. Alright, let's do this crossways and select the edge here. So when I convert it, the face is going to be above it and below it. So this takes a little experiment, and you can do selections to points, convert faces, borders to edges. So if I was to select like this here, 3 of them, and you can see the border all the way around the faces are now converted to edges. Alright, we're going over to selection, and we got 1 over N, and we're going to use this on the circle here. As you can see, I'm in selected edge mode, and it's going to select every other edge. Or I can switch it to points and validate it. Alright, now we're going to select this cylinder here, and at this time we're going to go ahead and select the let's go ahead and select face here, and if we go to selection and go 1 over n, this is going to do it by random. So what we need to do is go ahead and select here, and we're going to loop it, and when we do, we'll have an option over here. So I'll loop it. A lot of times you can't see this option until you drag this down, then you'll be able to see this right here. And that way you can select every other one. If I was to loop it and loop it again, let's do this again, loop it twice, and we're going to set it to every other one, and then we're going to offset it. And I can go ahead and loop it, and I'll have them all selected at every other face. So it matters if the loop option activates over here. So let me do this one more time. If I was to select a face, as you can see, I have no option over here to choose 1 over n, and if I choose this option, it does them by random. Abort that. So the best way to do it is loop it, and as soon as I do, the option will show up over here. And you can loop it anywhere you want. So that's 2 ways that you can do 1 over. While these faces are highlighted, I'm going to go ahead and go into the convert these into triangulars here, and go back to the selection, and this is just a utility to highlight stuff that whatever it is. Select all the 3-point faces. As you can see, it highlights them all. And select not 4-point faces. As you can see, they're still highlighted. And we have an option to invert selection, so whatever's selected, it will deselect it and select everything else besides it. Alright, we're going to go over the selection and under grow and shrink, but first we need to select the face here. This is usually done with the hotkeys instead of going to this menu and selecting grow. It expands out from the faces that was already selected. So if you hold the shift key down, and while that's held down, you can press the plus sign on the numpad to add, and use the minus key with the shift key held down to subtract. Alright, I'm going to select some faces here. Then I'm going to go ahead and hold the control key down and see where my cursor's at, and I'm going to drag to the left, and I can select them here. Now I'm going to let go, and I can hold the control key down and select up here and stop, or I could have went all the way up. Now I'm going to select some more here. This time I'm going to hold the control key and the shift key down. Then I'm going to drag, and it's going to move the selection all in one shot. Hold the control key down, and this time it's going to keep them all connected. So basically we're going to hold this, select some here, and if I just want to move this as a group, the control key and the shift key, and we're going to slide them across. And if we want to move the extend from it, just hold the control key and just drag. I'm going to wrap this tutorial up with a soft selection. As you can put a check mark in here. You won't see anything happen until you select part of the object. And you can see a bunch of these little red points came up, and you can adjust this right here and the softness. The best way to do this is experiment. Turn them all the way down and pull on the object. We want to do that. Let me just select up to this next one up here, and we're going to increase it a little bit. Now I want to pull out in the direction the face is pointing, so I'm going to go up and switch this to selection mode. As a manipulator switched over, I'm going to pull in this direction the way the face is going. Control Z that. Like I said, all you got to do is just the mount way up, then turn it way down to see how it works. Control Z that. But anyway, I hope you learned a lot from my tutorials, because actually I've learned quite a bit myself just by reading and giving away these tutorials. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much.